Hello, thank you for coming along to listen to this talk. This is the beautiful Lansdowne Hall and Gallery in Stroud, and I'm proud to present to you my exhibition, Fractured Identities. For a long time now, I've not been comfortable in front of the camera, and I flick through things like Instagram and Facebook and other forums online, and I can see loads of other people looking like they're really happy with their photographs. And I start to believe it. I start to think, well, why am I not like them? About 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with several medical conditions. One of those, Addison's disease, requires me to take steroids every day. What that's actually done to me in the time, apart from giving me back my life, is it means that I have nice little chubby cheeks and I've put an awful lot of weight on. And every time I look at a photograph, that representation of myself, that's what I see. I don't see who I am. I see what I think the world is going to see and criticise. So through this body of work, I decided to explore what it actually means to people to look at those things online and what it is that goes behind each of those images. And hopefully as you have a look around this exhibition, you'll begin to understand too. So we're stood alongside a portrait of me. It's raw. There's no editing. It's been printed to a very large size, which I have to say when I first put this up was really quite daunting. And the thought of spending, a couple of weeks in an exhibition actually stood next to an image like this and have this image looking at me and looking at everybody seemed a really big challenge. But I'm becoming to love this photo. And the reason I'm becoming more in love with it is because it's a raw photo. It's a real person, and I was born to be a real person. I wasn't born to be perfect, and that's despite everything my head might try and tell me. And here I am real. You can see every wrinkle, hair, blemish, pore on my face. It's been printed large for a reason, and I think we don't give enough credit and enough importance to those images that have that sort of banal or blank aesthetic. I'm not smiling, I'm not in any exotic location, I'm me. Here I am, take me for who I am. Before I started this project, I would be the clown in front of the camera, the person who would sit there and pull all those funny faces, because I thought that was what I was supposed to do. And in family portraits and gatherings of individuals, I'd always try and put myself towards the back to try and hide a little. And I know that might seem quite strange to you now, standing in here in a room full of images of myself, and there's got to be over 50 images in here. But I'm not narcissistic, I'm not self-obsessed, but what I am interested in is people's opinions and reactions to the images they see of me. You see raw portraits, unaltered, as they are, as I am. And then you see other images where I've explored things like makeup and the contouring and manipulation that happens online all of the time. So lash obsession was quite an interesting image to do. What I wanted to do with this image is actually explore that obsession that people have in getting the perfect selfie. In this image here, obviously I am wearing makeup, I've been contoured, I am fully glammed up, and I'm wearing lots and lots of different pairs of eyelashes. And the idea with that is that obsession with our eyes must be perfect, we must have the best lashes in the world, we must have the most interesting lashes. And as you can see with this image, it's quite ludicrous to actually wear all these different pairs. And for someone who's allergic to makeup and allergic to the adhesive that's used for lashes, this is quite a challenge that I've undertaken. I set out to do just 9 images, and once we got to 9, my friend who's a makeup artist was like, no, we can't do any more because obviously your eyes are going to react. And I went, let's just go to 12. So we got to 12, and then I was still feeling fine, so I said, let's go even further. And we kept going until I got to a point where my eyelids were quite stuck together, and it took quite a lot of effort, and it was a little bit painful to actually unstick them. Each of these images has an interesting name. They're all named by the makeup that's actually worn in the image. And that makeup's referenced through the little booklet, which is also available as part of the exhibition. So each makeup has been photographed and recorded and made into an object itself. Each of them has been given a reference that you can then look at an image and work out exactly what is it that I'm wearing in each photograph. At the side of the image is a grid which gives us all those different names. And this is again a little bit obsessive about recording what it is that works and what it is that might not work. Again, emphasising that obsession that some people have with the perfect selfie, the perfect vision of themselves, something that we can't actually really aspire to in true life. The image enhancement questions whether or not what we're seeing online actually is real. These images, apart from the first one, have actually been created digitally. So I've imported them into a piece of software called Portrait Pro, which has automatically made changes based on its own assumptions and its own algorithms. I've then added digital makeup to my face to give it some colour. I'm able to change the position of the lighting so that actually I can give myself cheekbones, which is quite nice because I don't have cheekbones. I've then been able to smooth my skin out. And then finally I've gone for a full edit, including adding redness to the hair, smoothing the hair, making my lips much bigger, making my eyes much wider. I'm questioning here, is that an enhancement on that? Personally, I actually prefer my own picture, which for someone who hasn't liked their own photograph for years is quite astonishing. Dr. Marquardt is a plastic surgeon, and he devised this mask of divine proportion. That mask is supposed to determine whether or not a face is beautiful. It's based on the golden ratio from nature, and it's also based on decagons and hexagons. When I place it onto my face, whilst I can position my eyes and my lips and my nose quite accurately, the rest of my face is too chubby for his mask. So by putting the mask onto my face and then manipulating it in Photoshop, I'm able to come out with what he has determined should be a beautiful face. Again, when you look at that and you see the amount of distortion that I've had to put into that image to make it fit that mask, it makes me question, what do we actually mean by beauty? What truly is beautiful? Is that more beautiful than that, or vice versa? In my opinion, again, I prefer my face as it is. I think I look very odd and almost alien-like in that particular photograph. And I know a few of you are sort of chuckling and smiling at this image because you know, for me to actually say I like that image of myself is quite a shock to you. The Contour Tribe image is affected, obviously, a little bit by the reflections of this gorgeous building. There's some beautiful stained glass window, and there's a beautiful amount of light coming in. But what we're looking at here isn't the makeup itself, it's the absurdity of the levels that people go to get the makeup behind their faces. So for those people that you see on Instagram and on Facebook who have beautifully contoured cheekbones and they look stunning, and you think, oh my goodness, how on earth did they get a face like that? Very often they will have contoured, but they start with colour matching. So there's an image here which has some colour match makeup, and that's supposed to remove things like redness and brightness and blemishes from your skin. And then you would blend this first, and then you go from that into the contouring makeup, which you highlight the cheekbones, make them much more prominent, give them some contouring there, and you provide highlighting makeup to your nose to make it look slimmer. And again, you'll edge your nose, you'll put lines on it, and it's all to give definition in the face. And once that's blended, so we're now at 2 levels of makeup, they then put their final level of makeup on, which will be a foundation, and then there'll also be perhaps some bronzer and some blusher. Yeah, and I know that a few of you are sitting there thinking, oh my goodness, she's learnt all the names. Yeah, I've learnt the names of all the makeup. I have far more makeup than I've ever had in my life. I've worn mascara for the first time in my life. And it's quite a big business. I know people who take 2 to 3 hours to put their makeup on before they go out the house because they're doing all of this. They're doing the colour matching. But why are they doing it? Throughout history, we've wanted to be part of a tribe. We've wanted to be part of something. This I've called the contour tribe because it is about belonging. It's about wanting to belong and wanting to conform. But as I said before, we were born to be individuals and we're born to be real. And I think at times we forget that and we get swept along with what everybody else is doing. Make Me More Appealing for Instagram is a project that I carried out based on the work of an American journalist called Esther Honig. And she's stunningly, stunningly gorgeous and beautiful. And she decided to send her photograph around the world to different editors and ask them to make her more beautiful. And so her project before and after highlights the absurdity of some of the edits that she received back. She had her face shape changed, she had her hair changed, she had her skin colour changed, she had different clothes put on her, and it was quite a remarkable study. So I decided that I'd do this to myself. I wouldn't class myself as beautiful, so therefore I thought it would be really interesting to see what came back. And I have had quite a few back. A few I've had to pay for and a few have been free trials. And the brief to each of them was make me more appealing for Instagram. And I invite you to have a look at this later on and decide whether you think that this actually makes me look any different, whether you think the edits that they've done are actually more appealing or more beautiful. Some have given me makeup, some have changed the shape of my face. So for example, this one from New York, they've squished my face a bit and they've shaved quite a lot off my cheeks and my jawline and added in some makeup. Others have completely done it. This is one from India. They've completely changed the colour of my skin. I've had digital makeup and I look almost doll-like. Again, someone said to me the other day, what were you expecting to see? Were you expecting to see, you know, something beautiful? Which one do you prefer? And again, I go back to my own picture because I don't recognise some of the others as being me. I see them as, you know, somebody's attempt at playing around with an image, but they don't scare me like I thought they might. But they are very, very interesting. And so if you want to have a chat about that later on, please do come and get hold of me and we'll have a chat. Edit itself is quite an extreme image. Again, printed on A1, and it's meant to be large to give it that sort of importance and grandeur. It is fully edited, so it's an image that I took as part of the Lash Obsession project. And I've then edited it. I've cleaned up my eyes, I've given my eyes, made them whiter, I've made them bigger, I've made my lips bigger, because I didn't realise until I started taking my own photograph, my lips are actually, top lip in particular, is quite narrow. But I've given myself much bigger lips. I've smoothed out my skin, and those of you, when you come and have a look at this a bit later on, get close to the image, really peer at it, and you'll see that my skin has the texture of orange peel. It doesn't really, but in this image, because of the manipulation that I've done digitally, it does have that sort of impression. To get from this to this, obviously there is the time involved with the makeup, which is the longest part, but to get from an ordinary photograph of me to an edited photograph of me can take as little as 5 minutes. And if you go onto my website, you will be able to see videos of that shortly, of that actual manipulation that I've done to get from one image to another. And you'll be quite astounded at how fast these things can happen. And this is what happens online. People have apps on their phones and they take a perfectly good image of themselves and then edit it to pieces. They smooth their skin, they put makeup on, they change the colour of their hair. You know, there's even ones for men that you can put beards on. But but that's the kind of world that we're living in, and it's a real shame that we are moving away from communicating with people and being able to communicate with people face to face. Well, now we just seem to be able to communicate in a digital realm. So is our reality now virtual reality? These are things that scare me, but also interest me. I want to find out so much more. The project has a presence in the digital world, and this area of the exhibition really tries to emphasise that. So running a series of different screens, you're able to see different images. You're being bombarded with information and a bit of far too many images really to take in completely. So we're running images that were from my trials, we're running images from my Instagram feed and my Instagram program, we're running facial recognition software, and I'm running videos of me trialing lots and lots of different beauty gadgets from around the world. And I can tell you that those things are really very interesting. And this is an area where visitors to the gallery can just stand and look and try to observe what's going on. It's an interesting area to have at the end. It's held very differently, and it's caused quite a talking point already, with different people coming in and wondering what on earth's going on. And I think people find it really surprising that image software, for example, that would be used on Facebook to identify faces, can be used to say whether or not you're a man, you're a woman, if you're happy, if you're sad, and all those kinds of things. And putting my own images into that software, I found that my age goes from 20, which I'm not, to 62, and that my gender does change. In about 20% of the images, the software believes that I'm male. Now, I could get upset about that, but I find it incredibly fascinating and wonder how it can take the same face many, many times, but determine that it's a different gender. And I think this is where the problems lie with things like social media and virtual recognition online, is that we can never really tell what we're seeing. I really would like to thank all of you for coming along to this artist talk and for also visiting the gallery here in Stroud. I'm hopeful that this project will provide a springboard on which I can take this research further and determine more about what is it that makes us human. Why do we feel the need to change ourselves digitally? Why do we need to be different in the digital realm, in the virtual world? Why do we represent ourselves differently elsewhere? What is it about our psyche that causes us to do this? I'm interested in, why is it that some women are happy in their skin without makeup and others aren't? What is it about that? Why do young people feel the need to belong and to conform? And so when you go through a park and you look at all the young people, all the young girls have long straight hair and all the boys have a particular haircut. And I know that's been a part of our lives for a long time, but I think with this virtual world it's becoming more and more obsessive. Our phones are ubiquitous. They are with us all the time. There's issues with taking selfies all day, every day. We have issues now with people with mental disorders caused by too many selfies and then comparing themselves constantly to other people, forgetting that you might post the best photograph of yourself and other people are doing the same. But you look at their lives and you think that their lives are so much better than mine. When actually we need to learn to love ourselves. So these two images that we're looking at here, they're showing you that you have to accept that I am me, I am who I am, I'm built the way I'm built, and that's how I am, and people are just going to have to get on with it. If they don't like it, it becomes their problem. But we need more of us to have that positive attitude and to actually work towards making the digital world part of our lives, but not an overwhelming part. Thank you so much for your time and attention and for coming along. Thank you.